Hello, grade 10, and welcome to this English lesson. This is Miss Brianna, your English teacher from Knowledge Private School. Today, we will look at your literary reader, pages 26 and 27 in your student book. Remember, we read episode 1 about 80 days around the world. So, we read episode 1. The journey begins. Now, this is a story about two men who try to travel around the world in 80 days. The men are Mr. Phileas Fogg and his servant, Jean Passepartout. So why do they want to travel around the world? They want to travel because someone said, "You cannot." And they said, "Yes, we can." They said, "If we can, will you give us money?" And they said yes. So they made an agreement with their friends, and they will try to travel around the world in 80 days. Do you think they can? We will find out. Today, we will read episode 2. First, just listen while I read. Open to page 26 in your student book. Episode 2, The Race to India. Mr. Fogg and Passepartout traveled by train to Italy, and there they caught a large ship called the Mongolia. This was going to sail through the Suez Canal to Bombay in India. So what do we know from this paragraph? They went on a train to Italy, and then what did they do? They caught a large ship, and the name of the ship is Mongolia. Ships usually have names. And where will the ship go? Through a canal, which is like a small body of water. And they will travel through this to Bombay in India. Let's continue. A week after they left London, Mr. Fogg and his servant found themselves in Suez. While the ship's crew were putting more coal in the boat, Phileas Fogg and Passepartout went to the British consulate to check their passports. A passport is paper you need to travel. While they were getting off the ship, another Englishman saw them. It was Mr. Fix, an English police detective who was in Suez because he was looking for the London bank robber. Now, remember, in episode 1, in the newspaper, they see that there was a bank robber in London. So Mr. Fix is trying to find the bank robber. Detective Fix was excited to see that one of the men who were getting off the ship closely matched the description of the robber. So he looked like the robber. He secretly followed Fogg and his servant. Mr. Fogg later left the consulate and returned to the ship alone. Mr. Fix decided to talk to Passepartout. He discovered that the men were traveling round the world and that Mr. Fogg was carrying 20,000 pounds in his bag. Pounds is a type of money from England, so he has a lot of money. Mr. Fix is looking for a bank robber. He is looking for somebody with money. Let's continue. Passepartout did not know much more than that about his master. But when he heard these strange things, Detective Fix felt sure that Phileas Fogg was the man that he was looking for. He decided to go on the ship to Bombay, where he hoped to arrest Mr. Fogg in a place that was a British colony. What is a British colony? Well, long ago, some countries were under British rule. They were a British colony. Like India was not its own country, it was ruled by Britain. So it was a British colony. Let's continue. He immediately sent a message to the police in London asking for the correct arrest papers to be sent to Bombay. Arrest papers would say, "You may arrest this person." A police or detective cannot arrest without arrest papers. Okay, let's continue. During the journey, Passepartout was surprised to see Mr. Fix again, but the two men spent time together and became friends. Now, Passepartout is the servant of Phileas Fogg. And Mr. Fix is the detective, and they became friends. Spent time together and became friends while Phileas Fogg played cards with the other passengers. The journey along the Suez Canal, through the Red Sea, and across the Indian Ocean to Bombay usually took 10 days. However, Phileas Fogg quietly promised the engineer of the Mongolia a large amount of money and asked him to get to Bombay ahead of time, so early. The ship arrived in Bombay at 4:30 p.m. on 20th October, 2 days earlier than planned. So normally it takes 10 days, but this time it took 8 days. This is good because he is trying to go around the world in only 80 days. So they arrived in Bombay earlier. Okay, let's look at page 27. It says, in Bombay, Mr. Fogg sent Passepartout to buy more clothes for them both. While Passepartout was shopping, Mr. Fogg went straight to the passport office and then to the railway station. There he waited quietly for the 8 p.m. train to Calcutta. He was not interested in seeing Bombay. So he went to the passport office and then to the railway station. What is a railway station? This is a place for trains. So he wants to get on a train. He wants to get on the 8 p.m. train to Calcutta. It says he was not interested. He did not want to see Bombay. He is not traveling to see things. He's traveling to go very fast. Remember, there are no airplanes, so it takes a long time to travel around the world. Okay, let's continue. Passepartout was not like Fogg. He was excited to be there. He bought some clothes, and then he looked round the city. He saw a beautiful temple, and he decided to look inside. A temple is a place where people can worship God. Now, it depends on the religion. So in India, they are Hindus. So they have Hindu temples where they worship what they believe is God. So he saw a beautiful temple and he decided to look inside. Who is it talking about? Passepartout. Now he is the servant. He is excited. He wants to see things. Let's continue. But he did not know that it was very important to take off his shoes before going into a temple. Immediately, 3 angry priests began attacking him and pulling off his shoes. Passepartout was shocked, but quickly hit his attackers and ran out of the temple. He escaped and arrived at the railway station without his hat or shoes, 5 minutes before the train to Calcutta left. Okay, let's look at that section. So a priest is somebody who is in charge of a temple. Okay? The priests were angry. Why were they angry? What did Passepartout forget? He did not know to take off his shoes. So he wore his shoes and the priests were angry. They attacked him. They pulled off his shoes. But Passepartout quickly hit them and ran out of the temple. He does not have his hat or his shoes, and he is almost late, only 5 minutes before the train. Okay, it says, he immediately explained his story to Phileas Fogg and told him all about the temple and his lucky escape. Mr. Fix was hiding not far from them in the station, and he also heard the story. He still did not have the arrest papers. Now, Mr. Fix thinks that Phileas Fogg is the bank robber, but he is not. But Mr. Fix wants to arrest him, and he needs arrest papers. But He wanted to follow Mr. Fogg and Passepartout to Calcutta on the train. He watched them climb quickly into one of the train carriages. He was going to get into the next carriage when he suddenly changed his mind. Changed his mind. This means he changed his decision. As he watched the steam train slowly starting the 3-day journey to Calcutta, Mr. Fix thought carefully about the Frenchman's story, and he had a new idea. So he wants to catch them. I wonder what his new idea is. We will find out in the next episode. Let's look at a few of the words from this story. This is the word crew. A crew, these are the people who run a ship. So for example, this is a ship crew, all the men who run a ship. This is coal. Remember, they stop to get coal. If you burn coal, this is what makes a ship move. So this is coal. It's a type of rock that we can burn. Arrest. This is what Mr. Fix wants to do to Passepartout and Phileas Fogg. He wants to arrest or catch them. He thinks they are robbers. This is the word temple. This is a temple. In India, they have Hindu temples for their god. Temple is a place to worship God. Priest, for example, these are Hindu priests. A priest is a person who lives in the temple and worships God in their own religion. And railway station. This is a railway station. This is where you can get a train. So Phileas Fogg went to the railway station, but Passepartout went to a temple. In the temple, he almost had trouble because he did not take off his shoes, and then he ran to the station and he was almost late. But they got onto a train and now they are going to Calcutta. Is Mr. Fix going to follow them? We do not know if he will or not. At the end, he has an idea, but we don't know the idea yet. This says, did you know big international engineering projects began in the 19th century, and these helped travel and transport around the world a lot. Two of the biggest were the Suez Canal, finished in 1869, and the Panama Canal, opened in 1914. The map shows how they changed journeys around the world. Travel suddenly became much faster and safer. The journey around Cape Horn was especially dangerous in the old days. Let's look at this map. So before the canals, if someone wanted to travel, they had to come all the way down under Africa and then up above Australia. Okay, this took a long time. But then they created the canal. So the Suez Canal allows people to travel like this. This is much faster for people. Do you see how this is faster than this? At the end, it says this journey around Cape Horn here was very dangerous. Many ships did not make it, did not survive. So a canal is when they move land and create water, and then ships can go there. For example, the Suez Canal here. Another example, if you wanted to travel this way, before canals, you could go all the way down here, or you could go here and then take a train across America and then continue. Both of these took a long time, but they created the Panama Canal. So they moved the land and created a space for water so ships could just travel through the canal, and that was much faster. So this is the word canal. We have the Suez Canal here, Panama Canal here, and it made it faster to travel. This happened in the 19th century, so that's the 1800s. So these were big projects and they really changed the world because travel suddenly became faster and safer. Okay, repeat the new words after me one more time. Crew, coal, arrest, temple, priest, railway station. For homework, read episode 2 to yourself. If you see a word you do not understand, for example, secretly, or for example, detective, or immediately, underline the word. Check what it means on the computer or on a dictionary or in Google Translate. Or when we have live class, you can ask what the word means. If you find a word you do not understand, it's important that you find what it means so you can learn a new English word. Try to read episode 2 to yourself. Again, that's pages 26 and 27 in your student book. Thank you for joining me for this class. I hope you are all having a good week. Goodbye, everyone.